Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dialar's Twi'lek Tactics. I'm doing my tier list a little bit early because we're not getting a new Eternal Evolution specific new hero on the 28th, which I would normally do my tier list after the release of that hero. But we're getting the collab event, which is going to give us 4 new Ghost in the Shell heroes crossing over into our world. So I figured before that happens, we better do a tier list, and then because there's gonna be a whole slew of changes next month. So without further ado, let's go right to it. Now, here we go. As I always do, I'm going to remove my face here. I'm going to remove the border from my camera so that if you want to take a screenshot of this before we get into it, now's your time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. This list is always up, though, for viewing. It is in the spreadsheet, my Master Eternal Evolution spreadsheet that is linked in the description of this video, as well as every video that I put out on this channel. So let's get into it. First of all, if you do not see an elite hero on this list, it means they are basically garbage. They are food. You can use them for evolution material if you're in the beginning to mid game. Go for it, because really, you're never going to use them, I promise. Yes, that includes Hypnos. For those of you already typing in the comments, Hypnos is also garbage, also food. So, let's start with the tanks. We're going to do this list a little bit differently this month. We're going to work from right to left. Now, generally, all of the elites, unless I say otherwise, you're going to use in the beginning game and through mid game. There are a couple elites you will use in end game in niche situations, but for the most part, we're not getting any more elites. You know, Vagnus was the last new elite hero in the game, but the game has now evolved to a point, get it, where the triple S are meant to completely overrule and just take the place of all of the elites. That's just the way this game goes. So we're going to start from right to left. So Oak, you know, I'm not even really using Oak in my beginning game. I'm actually not using any tanks. I'm using Vanguard's beginning game. But if I did have to rank the elite tanks, Oak and Boar are okay. There are, I would say Boar is better than Oak. I remember when Oak was really good when I first started playing this game, but he's not anymore. He's just not. But you can use him in, like, say, some tank stages, but really the elite tanks at the beginning of the game don't make a good team in general. Until you get Pandemonium, which is, again, in first, you're not going to really do well in tank-specific content. But, you know, Oak and Boar, functional. And then we get a little bit higher. So Oisa I used, even on my new free-to-play accounts, I used Oisa exclusively. Or a lot. I used her quite a bit because her AoE stun comes in clutch. She does have some uses. I ran her in PvP. You can still run her as a frontliner in PvP, given the fact that she's got so much crowd control, right? Like, she stuns on hit on when taking damage, and she has her AoE stun, and she increases defense. She's still a good tank, and you know, I love that that nice blonde hair. Vagnus is probably going to be your best elite tank, just given that he's just a beefy boy. He works best with energy. He does have a lot of knockdowns in his kit as well. They've really the way that they made tanks viable was this knockdown effect, and now basically the commander revolves around knockdowns. That's how you inflict more damage, and Vagnus has a lot of knockdown in his kit. So does Oak, but Vagnus is probably, he's better than all these three. That's just hands down, he's better than all these three. Zyda. Okay, Zyda. Zyda is still usable. I still use her today. She is still on the tank team, but she is definitely in last place of all the triple S tanks. She's probably, though, if you're going to take her to X30, which I do not recommend you do, she is probably the tankiest of the tanks, which is kind of odd and kind of funny because she's got such good health regen as well. Like, an X30 Zyda is really hard to take down, but she's not going to deal a whole bunch of damage. She's just basically there to provide an extra tank for the Pandemonium Nuclear Magnetic Shock ground and pound slam, right? Okay, so she's fourth. She's easily fourth in the tank class. Now, Wamagon Teresh. This one's a little bit more difficult. So I struggle a little bit Wamagon is a great plug-and-play tank. He also has great survivability. He can heal himself if you want to put him in an abundant set. And he also deals so much damage. Like, Wamagon can single-handedly win you a fight and just be the last tank standing. And since he is plug-and-play, he is ranked fairly high. You can use him as a frontliner in other teams. But Teresh, man, he's got so much defense, damage reduction mechanisms in his kit. And the fact that he can ramp up and boost melee damage gives him, in my opinion, the edge over Wamagon. Plus, he's the one that made tanks so deadly with that chuck, that throw of tanks into the backline. So Teresh, given the fact that he can boost your assassins, he can boost your Vanguard, he boosts the tanks, and he's got a really cool mechanic in his kit that allows them to do really cool things and beat teams they might not be able to beat in the past, aka hunters. Teresh is number 2, and Wamagon is number 3 when it comes to tanks Internal Evolution. Now, number 1, I know there's an argument to be made that maybe Pandemonium should not be number 1 in tanks anymore. Maybe it should be Teresh or Wamagon. But without Pandemonium, anything that requires an actual tank team does not work as it does with Pandemonium. Pandemonium is the engine that makes the tanks go. As such, I have to give him the number 1 spot still. He's not really as plug and play because Pandemonium is more about facilitating damage. And he does decent damage himself, but through the tank commander. Outside, if you just plug and play or Pandemonium, it's not going to do as good as Teresh or Wamagon. They're better plug and play standalone tanks. But Pandemonium is the glue that makes a tank team vicious. And because of that, he's still number 1. He's still number 1. Supports. Now, last month, I do believe, was the first month that I amalgamated supports and healers together. Now, we'll start at the end. Loran still has a place on this because for beginning players, you're going to acquire 3 healers. And Loran is still going to be that healer for you. You're going to probably run Serena, who's also on the list, and Mazrani. And Loran is your first 3 healers in the game. So Loran, while being the worst, still has a place on this list. I could make an argument that says that Loran should be ahead of Anaruda, given the fact that I didn't use Anaruda for anything. But Anaruda is a free SSS that you get from pulling advanced tickets. There are some niche uses. You do get Dan early in the game. So I think that a new player, a brand new beginning player, if they pulled an Anaruda from advanced tickets, they could possibly pair Anaruda with Daniel and Leo, because Leo's the new week 1 unit and Daniel's the new week 2 unit. You could pair those 3 together and do some interesting things in the game early on, but you're quickly going to drop Anaruda. So Loran is bringing up the rear. Anaruda, not much far ahead of him. And then we get into Bada and Serena. You know, Bada was the first flop new release hero, and she's still a flop. She's got high single target damage healing. She's got this stupid fountain mechanic that doesn't do anything. It's pretty much useless. Bada, if you're a new player and you somehow fall into 4 copies of Bada, fine, use her. But other than that, she's kind of garbage. But she is a functional healer, which gives her a spot higher than Anaruda and Loran. And she does have, like I said, she has a monster single target heal. But other than that, she's not really useful. Serena, man, Serena she just still shines. She's got an unlimited range on her healing. She's got really good single target healing, and she's got her big AoE on her AoE heal on her ultimate. She's just better than Bada and Loran when it comes to healing. As such, she's right in the middle. Now, Rez is the true support, right? Like, say, he doesn't heal, but what he does is he elevates every other damage unit. Well, we all know what Rez does. He basically gives you free ultimates. But Rez also has this ability where he can mess with the energy regeneration of the opposing team, which is very, very powerful in amongst itself. So that, compared with his boosting of ultimates, it cements his position higher up on the list of support units. Now we get into the top 3. So Masrani, Miranda, Fiona. For the longest time, I know I had Masrani first. Masrani is a true healer. He does have a lot of support functions baked into his kit. He supplies shields to back row units. He supplies the damage boost to back row units, and I think everybody on the team as well. And he heals. I still think he heals the best. So if damage is your issue, or incoming damage taken is your issue, and you really need some good team-wide heals, Masrani is your unit. But Miranda and Fiona, while their heals are lackluster, what they bring to a team, how they elevate teams, Miranda for hunters and energy, and then Fiona for vanguards and assassins and everybody else. Masrani definitely stuck in that number 3 position for best healer or best support in the game. Now Miranda and Fiona. Miranda, she is number 2. There's no debating that Miranda is number 2, because Fiona you can use to buff up all the teams, whereas yes, Miranda, she buffs 2 units with really high end attack, and then her bubble supplying the shield will boost the true damage of hunters and energy. And yes, Miranda's really good on an energy team, but Fiona is actually used in places where you're taken. The game pushes you to use Miranda, but Fiona's better. And I'm looking at Guild Hunt Spider Boss. Guild Hunt Spider Boss is an energy boss. You want to use Nord, you want to use Jaina, you want to use Ravenna. And you would think Miranda is your unit because Miranda is there to give the support and buffs to energy teams. Well, no, it's Fiona. So given that point, Fiona is going to beat Miranda. Plus, Fiona is the unit that single-handedly broke the Assassins team and made them OP. So Miranda, she's a good solid number 2, but she is number 2 regardless. And Fiona is number 1. The invincibility effects is just money for assassins. She gives shields to up to 4 units, I do believe. You know, you can do a lot with shields in this game. She ramps up the damage of I do believe the top 4 highest attack units in the team. Maybe it's top 2, top 3. I can't remember. It's 3 or 4. Fiona broke the game with how much she boosted assassins. You can use them to do Crimson Abyss. You can use them in Molten Abyss. You can use them in Thunder Cliffs. She just makes assassins the top team in the game. As such, I got to give Fiona the number 1 spot for the best support in the game right now. Energy, okay, energy units. It's a big. There's a lot of units in Hunters and Energy. And Energy used to be the top dogs, but they've seemed to have fallen off. They just don't quite pack the punch they used to. There are some individual units at the top of the list that are really, really good, but as a team in general, Energy's not as good as they once were. Now, beginning game, Omar. So, is Omar okay? You can use Omar. He's functional. You can use both Omar and Nagrama in Sincero Marsh, right? But as my free-to-play account is proving, they are completely not needed at all whatsoever in Sincero Marsh. You can actually just run Daniel, Falvia, Taylor, and then Botmark or Sorietta and clear Sincero 15. Now, once you get up past Sincero 15, then you need Miranda and Masrani to do Sincero X123. And in that case, then you can bring in an Omar, right? Because you kind of want to use your energy heroes after that. But definitely the bottom of the list. But they're not trash. They're not absolute trash. I was beating Sincero X3 with Omar as a test. And Nagrama does okay damage. It's just as an energy unit. Energy is meant to AoE, and Nagrama has that straight... It is an AoE, but it is a straight beamline AoE. So... don't use them for food, but don't stress on them too much. You're not going to get a whole lot of use out of them. They are definitely bringing up the rear. Now, Nautilus. So, I think when the game first launched, Nautilus had okay damage for his time. At that time, you would want to use Nautilus in the Guild Hunt Whale when Guild Hunt was first a thing. But by the time people get Nautilus nowadays, you don't need him anywhere. Is he better than Nagrama? He's basically a better Nagrama and a better Sorietta. That's all I can really say about Nautilus. But why is Sorietta ahead of him then? Well, because you're going to get Sorietta early on in game, and a beginning someone that's in the beginning game is going to get a lot of use out of their Sorietta, which is why Sorietta is ahead of Nautilus. Now, the game, for some reason, loves Falvia right now. She is the kind of like the hero's journey. You got to do a whole lot of things to use your Falvia in certain ways. You got to, I can't remember what the event is called, but the game, basically, they're taking you through her journey. It used to be Taylor, but now it's Falvia. That might change in the future. But Falvia and Kayn are probably the best AoE energy elite units. I was actually using Falvia and Kayn in the Crimson Rot in Kentosian Triangle up until recently on my one free-to-play account, my big free-to-play account. Now, I think I kind of consider Falvia and Kayn. You're going to use them until you get your Luke and your Ravenna built up. Or, say, your Jaina and your Nord. Right? As soon as you get the top 4 in this list built up, you're not going to use them. But they're definitely useful right up to and including parts of Endgame, which is why they're still solidly in the middle of the energy class in this tier list. Now, like I just said, Ravenna and Luke are the ones that are going to basically supplant those units. Ravenna, she was really, really good. Everyone really loved her, and then she kind of fell off. And then Luke was really, really good. Everyone loved him. And now he just doesn't seem to really do the damage. Luke brings a lot of debuffs that help facilitate your other energy heroes doing more damage. And then Ravenna has a place again. She's coming back for Crimson Rot, the levels 7 through 10. So I kind of place Luke and Ravenna together. I'd say Luke is better in a PvP team, and he's better in PvP situations, whereas Ravenna is better in PvE situations, but I'm kind of going to group them equally. But since I put a little bit more emphasis on PvP, me personally, I'm going to give Luke the slight edge over Ravenna. But definitely, I think you should build both of them. Now, we will probably see a new energy hero after the collab event ends that will probably replace Luke on the PvP team. When that happens, I think I will have to slide Luke down and give Ravenna the edge over Luke. So if you're just kind of in mid-game and you're getting those Triple S selector cards from your heroes rallies, what should you spend it on? And well, if you're spending it on an energy hero to kind of cement your energy team, I almost want to tell you to go Ravenna right now, but do what you will. But yeah, Ravenna and Luke are basically the 3A, 3B of the energy team. And then we get into Jaina and Nord. You know, I almost want to put Jaina ahead of Nord. I almost want to, but I'm not going to because that's silly. Jaina is the ultimate paper cannon. Paper cannon? Glass cannon. That's going to be the word of the day. Jaina is the ultimate glass cannon in this game. She deals insane damage numbers. Insane damage numbers, but she's really squishy. She's really squishy. And she's really good against summoners. Jaina, absolutely. She is nipping on Northion's heels. Northion is still OP, but he's not as OP as he used to be. Jaina, when you pair her with a res and give her a lot of things to kill, she will do way more damage than Nord. But she can't take the hits like Nord. She can't heal like Nord. But damn, does she hit hard. So Jaina is the absolute, no questions asked, number 2 energy hero in Eternal Evolution. Nord, we're still giving him number 1. He's got it all. He's got everything in his kit. He's got a huge lifesteal. He's got huge damage numbers. He's got stuns. He's got CC. He can group heroes together. He can just go over and over and over again, right? He is still kind of the king. After Caraxia, or after the SP units, I'm sure we'll get more in the future. He is still kind of the king after them. He is not as all-powerful as he used to be, but, you know, the devs still think he's powerful enough that they're going to paywall him and charge you $200 every 4 weeks for him. So, Nord, we are still going to give Nord, at least for September 2023, we are still going to give Nord the number 1 spot as the best energy hero in Eternal Evolution. Nord, also great plug-and-play unit, but you've seen instances where you can plug-and-play Jaina as well. We've used her in the Endless Battle for Summoners, I think 2 months ago. You can put her in certain situations. You can pair her with Dominic. You can do more with Jaina on the energy team than any of the other energy units other than Nord. So, Nord, number 1. Jaina, number 2. Luke, Ravenna, 3A, 3B. Hunters, okay. I went back and forth on the Hunters to the point where I actually switched it an hour ago. So, starting at the very end, old John, old Rise of Heroes character. He's got a limited range. He's got some interesting things in his kit. But unless you really want to X30 that guy because you think he looks cool, he's kind of niche. He doesn't really have a dedicated use in this game, and he still doesn't. He's just okay. He's not trash, but he's definitely not good. So he's bringing up the rear for Hunters. Azina, oh, poor Azina. So Azina, back when the game first launched, she was like, she's the engine that made Emma go, and Emma did all the damage. You really wanted to pair Azina with Emma, but now there's really no place for Azina. I wouldn't recommend dumping any resources to get Azina leveled up. Whoa. Pardon me. She's an old, outdated, power-crept Triple S. So much so that Taylor and Botmark, actually, I would recommend higher. So Taylor and Botmark, you're going to get so many miles out of them. They're such good hunters. Botmark hits so much. Botmark is basically the elite version of Rebecca. He is. Or she is. I don't know. They are. Botmark is still got some uses. You can get some use out of them at endgame. Like if you don't have the top Triple S hunters, you're going to be running Taylor and Botmark too. And Botmark's still decent, but not better than any of his peers ahead of him. Now Taylor's is the number one, probably the number one best elite in the game. You're going to get so much use out of him in beginning and mid game in so many places in this game. And even today, we still use Taylor in the current Endless Battle over Triple S Assassins because they just built him so well. You can actually manipulate, move him around the map where you want him to go. You can bypass certain game mechanics that would try to limit that. He's got a debuff that it increases the ability for others on his team to do crit damage. Taylor is the GOAT of elite heroes. I almost want to put Taylor above Prygor Moriami now. Almost, but I'm not going to. So, Prygor Moriami, let's move on to them. Moriami's a little bit more accessible now that she is available in the Endless Battle store for Endless Battle yellow tickets. Prygor you get for free. Prygor is probably going to be your first Immortal 5 unit because you get so many copies of her from Twilight Lands. You can select Prygor or Nautilus as your Triple S from your Twilight Lands rewards you get them up to and through stage 15 in Twilight Lands. Prygor and Moriami are both really, really good hunters. They're AoE hunters as well. After you get the top 3 hunters that you see on this list, you're not going to use them anymore. But Moriami did have a place at endgame on a hunter team in PvP, and Moriami in an AoE setting will do more damage than Prygor on a hunter team. And in Twilight Lands stage 16 I think it's 4 or 5 when you're at the Unicorn boss, you can use, say, Rebecca Rizeris Prygor or Rebecca Rizeris Moriami or Prygor Moriami Emma. You can actually use those hunters. They still have a use. They've basically been, they've pretty much been power crept, but I'm not going to say that Moriami and Prygor are trash. Like I said, in the past it was really hard to get Moriami, but now they've kind of loosened the reins on her, and you can get her quite easily if you use your Endless Battle tickets on her. So I'm putting Prygor and Moriami. I am putting them in the middle of this tier list, which is where they should be. Now, Emma, I actually had Moriami above Emma. I actually had Prygor and Moriami above Emma at one point, but Emma's kind of, she's hanging in there. So you can use her in the Molten Abyss and Katosian Triangle. We're using her. You can use her in endless battles right now. You know, she's okay. She's still okay. She can still dish out the heat. She's a single target, multi-hit single target damage dealing hunter. And she's still good at what she does. She's just not going to be as good as the top three, which, since I actually use Emma about as much as I use Moriyami, but I'm using Emma for harder content. I'm still using Moriyami in Sincero Marsh X3. I'm just running 4 hunters and Miranda, but it's Sincero Marsh, whereas I'm using Emma in Molten Abyss level 10, which is much harder content. As such, I'd be remiss if I didn't give Emma the slight edge over Moriyami. And now we get into the top 3. Okay, so hear me out, because I had originally today had Arcadia above Ryzeris. Why? Because I just put out a post-release summary on her. She deals a lot of damage. She does overshadow Ryzeris in damage. But damage isn't everything. Arcadia, that's her thing. Just hard, just big, hard damage numbers. She's a good hunter. I like her ultimate. You kind of have to have her X30 though. And she's definitely number 3 given how hard she hits and how much damage she can put out. But the reason why I put Ryzeris as number 2 above Arcadia is because Ryzeris adds to the whole team. Rebecca and Ryzeris both add to the whole team, but what Ryzeris brings to the team is attack speed. And both, or all 3, Ryzeris, Rebecca, and Arcadia all have attack speed caps. Even Emma has attack speed caps. Even Pragor Moriyami, all of the top 6 hunters they need attack speed. And the only hunter that's going to give you a huge chunk of attack speed is Ryzeris. And that's why, even though Ryzeris doesn't put out as much damage as Arcadia, she brings more to the team and elevates the entire team. Without her, without Ryzeris, the whole team is going to suffer. Whereas without Arcadia, yeah, you're going to be missing a little bit of damage, but you can just run Moriyami and almost do the same thing. So Arcadia is absolutely number 3, so much so that I am going to put a little bit of demarcation between her and Ryzeris just to show that they're not 2A, 2B. Arcadia is absolutely only number 3 of the hunters in Eternal Evolution. Ryzeris, we kind of just discussed Ryzeris. She's an AoE hunter, but if there's only one target, she is going to single target. All of her AoE are going to pump into that one target. It's not like you're really missing out. She kind of turns into a single target damage dealer when there's only one target on the field. But like I said, Ryzeris is going to bring 200 points of attack speed to your hunters, and pretty much all of the SSS hunters rely on attack speed. As such, Ryzeris, you still have your spot at number 2, baby. The 2 demons, number 2, number 3. Rebecca. I remember when I had Ryzeris above Rebecca on this tier list, and you know what? I was wrong. I can admit when I was wrong. Rebecca, what does she bring? She brings a whole lot of survivability to the whole team. She has this interesting mechanic where you can put her frontline and then jump her, so that you really don't need a frontline unit in some cases. She's got a absolute huge amount of damage. Without Rebecca, hunters aren't beating tanks. Without Rebecca, you need Rebecca in basically any place today in this game where you need a hunter. And she's going to supply all of her shields to give all of your hunters some survivability and some sustainability, all the while giving you those huge damage numbers. So Rebecca, baby, you're number 1, even though I still hate your art style. Rebecca, number 1 of the hunters. Ryzeris, easy number 2. Arcadia, easy number 3. And then gets a little wishy-washy after that. But I'm still going to give Taylor and Botmark shoutouts because they are still excellent elite units in this game. Vanguard. Okay, Vanguard could be contentious. Let's start at the end. Let's go to the right, and let's move my head so that we can... I'm not covering anything up. Guan Yu. He's on the board strictly for the fact that he's a SSS. He really we should be calling him Guan Pu because he really brings nothing to the team. They tried to even buff him once, and he still brought nothing to the team. I could, at endgame, for endgame, I could put Guan Yu over Artis because they kind of do the same thing. But as my new free-to-play account has shown, Artis is still a rock star for beginning game accounts. The game's going to feed you a lot of copies of Artis. He's likely going to be your first immortal hero between him and Taylor. And he's going to be your frontline hero for a while. So as such, Artis, you still got a place on this spot, baby, even though the devs did you dirty way back when and nerfed you into the ground. He's still a good frontline unit. You can pair him with Hagridon. You know, he's going to do his little displacement. He's going to get a big shield, so he's got some survivability. He's got some sustainability for beginning accounts. Artis, still a good unit. Now, Na Feng and Crete. Okay, so Na Feng was kind of cool on the Vanguard team briefly, but then the Vanguard team, it used to be Leo, Crete, Na Feng, and then whoever, 2 healers, whatnot. And they were the top dogs. They were one of the original metas in this game when it comes to PvP, but then summoners displaced them, and then they kind of just sucked. We kind of stole Leo and used him elsewhere because Leo's still good, even though people like to poop on him. Crete is okay. You know, people forget when this game launched, Crete was the big, beefy frontline tank that people really, really liked. We all loved him when he came out. His character model still looks cool, but both Crete and Na Feng have both kind of fallen off. Crete is more about, I'm going to just ramp up with HP and just do a butt ton of damage. But he's a defense-based unit as well. Whereas Na Feng, he's an HP-based unit, but Na Feng also boosts the attack of your two highest attack Vanguards. So I'm putting them kind of close together. I'm giving Crete the benefit, just because Crete can get more use-ish. Right? And he's a triple S. So I'm giving Na Feng, and well, both Na Feng and Crete are kind of in the middle. And that's kind of where they're going to stay. I almost want to slide Na Feng down, because now with the other Vanguards in the game, I wouldn't really tell anybody to work on him. And you're probably actually going to get more use out of your Artis if you're just new to the game than you're going to ever get with Na Feng. Even though you can pick up a couple copies of Na Feng. And since the game gives you Leo early in this game, you could run, or you will run, I should say, as your Vanguard team in PvP, Leo, Na Feng, and Artis early. So, Crete you can't even get anymore. Crete used to be the week 3 unit. Now it's Anpu. So, Crete, unless you specifically go for Crete, you're never going to get him. Which is unfortunate, given how cool he was when he first came out. Yeah, you're probably never gonna get a single copy. Crete is in the same place that Xena is in for the Hunters, as well as kind of Emma in a way. So unless you go for Crete in Endless Battle, which I don't recommend you do, because you can get Sorvali and Zeta in Endless Battle, and they're more important. Unless you go for him specifically because you like Vanguards, you're not gonna get a whole much use out of Crete. So Crete and Na Feng, we're gonna leave him here for now, but I could make an argument that Na Feng gets more use than Crete nowadays. And then we get into the top 3. So Leo is definitely the number 3 Vanguard. But he's not bad. He's still, like I said, he's a week 1 character now. The game gives you a copy of him week 1. And he's going to carry you. Leo is going to carry beginning game unit, or beginning game players and mid-game players. He's going to be so useful for you. You're going to be using him everywhere in Twilight Lands as your frontliner. Leo is still really good. His kit is still really well built, even though it's really complex. And you can gear this guy like 4 different ways. More than 4. Leo, still excellent Vanguard, but a little bit overshadowed by Ares and Barag. So Leo, you have your spot, baby, at number 3. And since we just got Ares, you're probably going to hold on to that spot for a while. So definitely put, early on, if you're a beginning game player, put Genes, develop your Leo, get him to Immortal, definitely get him to Immortal. Because you're still going to get a lot of use out of him, and he's still really, really good for Vanguard. For any unit. He's still really good for a triple S. Now, Barog and Ares. The sole reason why I put Ares first over Barog is because you can still, if your Ares is built correctly, you can still run a 3-unit Vanguard team with Ares and solo, well, not solo, trio, fully built, maxed, high-end Caraxia assassin teams. I confirmed with people in my alliance, you can still do this. So as such, that is why Barog is number 2. Now, Barog, a lot of people don't like Barog, but I almost think that those people don't really know how to use Barog. Barog can take so much damage, and he can disrupt the enemy team so much with his CC capabilities. And he's the Energizer Bunny. You pump more damage into him, he's just going to heal back up. So you know, he's really good. Plus, him and Ares are rage-based Vanguards, and the game has created content where you require rage-based Vanguards to score in the higher point range. I'm looking at Endless Battle. I'm looking at the Twilight, the Vanguard Bond or bosses in Twilight Lands. So you definitely need Ares and Barog. They're definitely 1 and 2. Barog, still a good unit. I would definitely recommend building him. Ares, also a good unit. Barog, in my opinion, can deal more damage than Ares. But Ares, if built right, can basically become invincible. And can also do a lot of damage in his own right. And like I said, Ares can almost solo maxed Caraxia teams, which is why Barog, baby, you're number 2. And Ares, for now, I'm going to give you the number 1 spot. If you guys disagree with me, please tell me in the comments if you think that Barog or Ares should be number 1. So that's Vanguards. Now let's talk the Assassins. Assassins are easy. Assassins are probably the easiest for me to classify in this game. So early on, I would say as a beginner player, you're probably going to get more use out of Randall because he's better in PvP. You know, you put him with a Pain Rune and a Hagridon, he can do cool things. He can deal okay damage. You're going to want to run both him and Rakana in Terradome. But you almost don't have to. Because I'm at Terradome 15 and I'm still using Taylor. I'm using Taylor, 2 healers, Artis, and you can use Muka. Yeah, so Randall he's cool looking. You're going to get some use out of him. I'm not going to call him trash, but he's definitely not good by any means. The reason why Rakana is higher is because Rakana, he attacks faster. So the way that this game works is you can get actually a lot of use out of Rakana. And if you've noticed, if you're paying attention to the endless battles, Rakana has a place on the best team in the Assassin endless battle. Based on the fact that he hits so much, right? So you're really making use out of Rickard's sword souls. And you're packing in all the more damage into Dominic's mark. Which is why Rakana is higher than Randall. Because Randall, you're not going to use it at endgame. Whereas we still find ways to use Rakana at endgame. And in fact, if you go look at my Guild Hunt tab on the spreadsheet, Rakana actually has a place in the highest end Guild Hunt Whale Assassin team. Go figure. For the same reasons why we would want to use Rakana in Endless Battle. So, the elites, well, I'm still going to put them at the tail end. Randall, you're at the bottom, baby. And then Rakana, you're a little bit higher up. But in general, say for like PvP and other areas of the game, you're probably going to want to run the Triple S Assassins. I'm still giving all of the Triple S Assassins, even Bailey, a higher rating. Bailey is below Halentus because Halentus does way more in PvP than Bailey. And like I said, in some cases, you want to actually run Rakana instead of Bailey, which is really sad. Bailey, I'm not calling Bailey bad, because what Bailey does is he facilitates and he amplifies Dominic and Rickard's damage. He works with their kits to make them do more damage, which is why we also use Rakana. So I'm giving Bailey just like the hard medium. He's he's just okay. He's not trash. He's not OP. He's got a solid spot in the middle of the tier list for Assassins Internal Evolution, whereas I give Halentis a little bit more because, as we've seen, we're still needing her for the bonus points in the Hell Arena, and she is better than Bailey in PvP. As such, Halentis has solidified her spot as number 4. Don't need to really say that much about her and Bailey other than that. Bailey better in some PvE settings, Halentis better than PvP, but you're probably going to get more out of Halentis than Bailey. Now we get into the top 3 now. Okay. Forever I had Rickard as number 1, and again, I was wrong. Rickard is the number 3, and I'm gonna pull him apart a little bit from Dominic to show that, because Dominic is capable of doing way more damage than Rickard. But Rickard still is a facilitator on the assassin team. He is going to give every other assassin his sword souls, and then he's gonna do extra damage every time the other assassins attack through the sword souls based on his attack. So, and plus he can do some massive crit damage numbers. So Rickard, definitely worth building. He is in the current wish list banner that is currently ongoing, or that just started as of today, September 21st. Rickard, easily number 3 best assassin in Internal Evolution. But Dominic, easily, yeah, I'm looking at you, Donkey, easily the number 2 spot, because he can just dish out so much more damage than Rickard. And you can plug and play Dominic with other crit-based units, crit-based teams, and do some amazing things too. So Rickard, definitely not plug and play. You kind of have to leave him with the assassins, or if you are going to plug and play Dominic somewhere, you can kind of bring in Rickard to help facilitate Dominic. Like, say, the Molten Abyss dungeon in the Ketosian Triangle. But yeah, Dominic, you can throw him in so many places and do amazing things with him. We've seen in Endless Battles, he's almost used in every single one. He's used currently in the Hunter Endless Battle right now to get the best scores. So, Dominic, easily, unequivocally, yeah, I said that right, number 2 assassin in Internal Evolution. Caraxia, she's number 1 by default. She actually doesn't do the most damage on my team, probably because I only have her X30, not X40. But given that how much damage she puts out, to the fact that she can almost keep up with Dominic and Rickard just by herself, is quite telling. And her executability, everything that she brings, her whole kit is bonkers. She's got a ghost form that she revives from. Caraxia, yeah, Caraxia is the best hero in the game for just pure damage DPS numbers. If you take her to X40, if you've seen some of my Caraxia highlight videos, you basically need 6 copies of her, which I'll just do this. Most people won't ever see Caraxia. I almost want to leave her off this list, but I can't. She is actually really good. She does make the Assassins the best team in the game. So she still gets the number 1 spot for now. Summoners, okay. I kind of had to juggle the summoners this month. And I really struggled because previously I had Daniel at number 1. But Sif really made me reevaluate the summoners. So let's start at the very end. Muka, he used to, Muka was still good. He was hanging in there. I had him previously butted up right with Kalaza and Senway, but with the introduction of Doralee, you don't need Muka. Doralee replaces Muka. So Muka, you're bringing up the rear, buddy, but I still love you. Now, Senway and Kalaza are still really good summoner units. If you don't have Sif, you're probably going to want to run Kalaza and Senway in your guild hunt still. Kalaza and Senway are going to be excellent summoners early on in the game for beginner and mid-game players. In some cases, I could put them ahead of Skewer and Hattie, but I'm not going to. Senway, Kalaza, good units, but they're elites. And they finally fell into their role as elites and have been overshadowed by the Triple S. But they had so much use just up until recently that they're going to be close to the bottom end of the summoner tier. Definitely build them if you're a beginner player though, or even a mid-game player. And the game's going to feed you copies. You should have them immortal anyway. My free-to-play in day 1 of week 4, I just got Kalaza to immortal. So they're you're going to get them built up really, really quick, and you're going to get a lot of use out of them until you replace them. Now, Skewer and Hattie, I did have Skewer and Hattie down a little bit. The reason why Skewer and Hattie gets a little bit higher rating than Kalaza and Senway is because she can basically buff your entire summoner team. The last time, not this time, but the last time we had Endless Battle Summoner, she was needed on that team. Now, actually, you know what? Where are we using Skewer and Hattie? I'm guessing that early game. Actually, she's kind of going away from early game too, because they've recently changed the battle order battle pass to Doralee from Skewer and Hattie. So, you know what? Maybe I want to put Skewer and Hattie below Kalaza and Senway. I might do that next month, because for the life of me, if you don't have Sif, you're gonna want to build Skewer and Hattie for the Guild Hunt Turbine team. That is hands down. That is what it is. If you don't have Sif, you're gonna want to build Skewer and Hattie. So I guess, okay, I'm gonna put her here with the caveat that you don't have Sif. That said, Sorvalee. Now, I'm still giving Sorvalee, I'm giving her like a middle grade because she is the healer on the team. You do want to run her on any summoner PvP team. The top 5 characters are the team. She's going to feed Ampu damage. She's going to keep your team alive. And she's got some anti-displacement in her kit as well. So Sorvalee, I'm not going to discuss her that much. You can get a copy of her from Endless Battles. I do recommend that for any beginner player. I do recommend still that you build Sorvalee. You get her to Immortal, because until you get Sif, I think she's going to be a little bit more accessible than Sif, given that you can get a copy of her almost every month through the Endless Battle store. Sometimes they pull her out of that store, so she's kind of in there every second month, but still, I think you can slow get your Sorvalee over time. And even if you get one copy early, which you can do at your whim, I'm going to do that on my free-to-play account through Endless Battle Store. Then you can put genes in her to get her up, because her, Dan, and Ampu really early are really, really good. And you get Dan in week 2 and Ampu in week 3. So your ability to get Sorvalee in whenever Endless Battle comes around for you, those 3 really pair really nicely together and can make a good team. You can even go Ampu, Daniel, Sorvalee, Kalaza, Senway if you're free to play early on. But you can buy a couple copies of Doralee early on, so it's really going to be Doralee, Ampu, Daniel, Sorvalee, Senway, or Skewer until you get Sif. So that's all I'm really going to say about Sorvalee. I still really like her. I still think she's definitely useful at endgame. But you kind of have to have Ampu, too, with Sorvalee to make her good, to really get the full use out of her. Daniel. Okay, so here's where things start to change. I had previously had Daniel at number 1. The reason being is that he is such a good unit for early and mid-game players. He used to be the highest damage dealing hero on the team for summoners, and he brings to the table 15% attack for all summoned units. So you still want Daniel. And if you're a beginning or mid-game player, Daniel's probably going to be one of your most useful heroes. I think I had him at the top of this list because he was so useful to everybody. And he was so plug and play everywhere. That is what was giving him such a high rating before. But now, with the introduction of Doralee Sif, I had to rejuggle the entire tier. And as such, Daniel's kind of slid all the way down to 4th. The reason why Ampu slid up and Daniel slid down is because of Sif and Doralee. So I kind of want to discuss the top 3 altogether. Why they're so good. So Doralee, frontline tank, almost an unkillable tank. Doralee, while not doing a whole lot of damage, she buffs the damage by 40% of your summoners and your summoned units. So there's that right off the bat. Plus, she's the most important frontline tank for summoners, and you can plug and play her with other teams. So she's got some plug and play viability. That is why Doralee is above Ampu, because Doralee will help ramp Ampu's damage. And so will Daniel. So those two combined kind of, they elevate Ampu to a point where his damage kind of makes him more important than Daniel on the team. And you're going to see when you have a full end game summoner team that it's going to be Sif or Ampu as your number one damage dealers. And then Daniel's going to slide way down the list, down the damage scaling. Because Ampu, he's got the ability to scale his damage higher with each new summoner that comes into the game based on his mechanics and his kit. Whereas Daniel's just kind of stuck doing what Daniel's doing at this point. Ampu's damage is going to go up the more summoned units, more heroes bring to the table. Sif, through her Pebbles mechanic, helps really ramp up Ampu to the point now where Sif is elevating Ampu almost as much as Sorvali did. Now, of course, all 5 heroes together is going to turn Ampu into a god. But even without Sorvali, I think if you just had Sif, Doralee, Ampu, Daniel, Skewer, I still would have to put Ampu above Daniel. Is that clear as mud? So Daniel, really good plug-and-play unit, but he isn't bringing to the table what he used to for the summoner team in PvP or in general. But he's still a great unit. The top 5 summoners, absolutely still build. But yeah, Ampu, number 3. He's number 3 now because of his damage output. Doralee is number 2 because of her plug-and-play viability and how much she elevates the summoner team and how much she protects the summoner team, which is why I'm giving Doralee the number 2 spot. The reason why I'm giving the Sif the number 1 spot is because she can almost do as much damage as, say, a Nord. You can plug and play her a bit outside of a summoner team, but her damage is going to dramatically fall off outside of a summoner team because she needs Daniel and Doralee to help boost her the damage of Gobo, which is her big summon. But she is hands down the highest damage, or when she is X30 Hyper Evolved 120 on the summoner team, is definitely the highest damage dealer on the team, especially in single target settings like Guild Hunt Turbine Boss. So, whereas Sif doesn't buff any of the other summoners, she just relies on them to do insane damage numbers. There is an argument to be made in the top 3 how you want to organize those heroes. Sif does have some AoE, or not some AoE, some CC capabilities with Gobo stunning. Gobo also is the counter to invincibility effects. I'm looking at Assassins and Energy and Leo. So, you guys tell me, does Sif deserve the number 1 spot? Because at least for this month, September 2023, I'm giving her the number 1 spot. So there we go. It took me almost an hour to get through this tier list, ladies and gentlemen. I will remove my face once again, given that we made some slight tweaks. So if you want to screenshot this, go ahead. Now's your time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as always, this list is also on my master spreadsheet, which is linked in the description of this video. If you have any differences of opinion, please, I'd like to hear from them. Because, as I've said, I've admitted I've been wrong in certain cases, looking at, let's say, Dominic and Rebecca. Whereas I've finally seen the error of my ways. So I would like to hear your comments on how I should change up this list if you disagree with any of my placements. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. The word of the day, the safe word of the day for this video is glass cannon. As we discussed with Jaina, put glass cannon down in the comment section of this video so I'll know you made it all the way to the end. And I hope you enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. Till next time, cheers, peace, bye-bye.